Hi everyone, welcome to this, our extra time session for today, in which there's the offer of some thoughts and questions to follow up today's YouTube session on hunger and hope. As always, do please feel free to dip in and out of each question for as long or as short as you see fit. The intention being that the questions are a springboard for your own reflections, so do tangent away and back in as much as you like. As I said at the top of the session, it felt necessary for us to reflect on the events of this past week in light of both the vote in the House of Commons to not extend free school meal vouchers over half-term and school holidays, but also the subsequent response from so many across the country to seek to address the food needs of children who may otherwise go hungry this week and beyond. And so here's some questions which you might like to consider from what we shared in this session. A lighter one to start off with, though. Marcus Rashford has been an inspiration to many for his work in campaigning for free school meals to be extended. But I wonder for you, which public figures do you particularly admire and why? Alright, we've spoken before on here about the crossover between faith and politics, and seen particularly in the session we did back at Pentecost in May, how political Jesus' approach to life was. Indeed, in that session, I quoted Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who said this: "When people say religion and politics don't mix, I wonder which Bible they're reading." And so a question: to what extent do you agree with this statement, and why? Okay, let's unpack the specifics of hunger a bit more with these couple of questions. Firstly, to what extent do you think the government is responsible for ensuring people have enough food to eat? And then secondly, how does this responsibility tie in with that of local communities and us as individuals? In the session, we looked at the miracle known as the feeding of the 5,000, and in particular the way Jesus responded to the hungry crowds who were following him. First, by noticing their needs. Secondly, by feeding them with all they wanted. And thirdly, by ensuring they had food to take with them for the road ahead. Indeed, we could say this offering of support, the building of confidence, and the provision of hope makes this a very encouraging act from Jesus. And so with this in mind, what practical lessons do you think we might take from this story for the way we engage with our own communities? Now, in the Bible, the book of Acts tells us that the early followers of Jesus, followers who became known as the early church, conducted their community life in this way. All the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. And so with this passage in mind, maybe try this batch of questions on for size. To what extent might this model for community life still be relevant for us today? Secondly, has our experience of the pandemic made the Acts model of church and community life more or less relevant, and why? And then connected to this, a chunky one to finish with for today. To what extent can these community principles be applied to the way a nation is governed? All right, Hopefully that's prompted some deeper reflection, some application, maybe even some disagreement, but that's okay. As I said in this session, we'll be back with another different offering again next week. So until then, thanks very much for engaging with all of this. Take care, and let's get together again soon. All right, bye for now.